Hello everyone, and welcome to our latest video, and this one has the not particularly exciting title of How Are You Marked? I'm going to try and keep this as brief as I possibly can, but I want you to be aware of the things that you are marked for so you're well prepared before you begin writing your investigation. There are 50 marks available for your investigation. 15 of them are for AO1. Remember, AO stands for Assessment Objective. So AO1, terminology and clear expression. So you're going to have to use quite sophisticated terminology in your answer, and you're also going to need to express yourself clearly and guide your reader very well. There are 15 marks also available for AO2, which is theories and concepts. Now this will include your linguistic theories and theorists that you've learned in year 12 so far, but also any from independent research. Concepts can be down to any language issue that you want to discuss. AO3, context, is with 20 marks. So this is the dominant assessment objective. 20 marks as opposed to 15 for AO1 and AO2. Context, of course, is the background of things. So that gives you a total mark out of 50. Your creative coursework folder is also out of 50, with 25 marks for the creative piece and 25 marks for the commentary. So your creative and commentary together come to the same amount of marks as your investigation. So your investigation is bigger. Each of them are worth 10% of your final marks. It's a shame it's not more, and we have to say for the amount of work you put into your investigation, it really should be more, but it isn't. Okay, the mark scheme is this. I'm going to go straight to the top band of the mark scheme. We have a very, very able cohort of students. We're aiming for you all to get as close to this as possible, but it's very, very tricky to get here. Now, everything I'm going to discuss in this mark scheme, if you're looking at lower grades, it's the same things, it's just doing it less well. And I will talk about that in turn. So, AO1 to begin with, terminology and writing well. You can see it's slightly cropped off there, but it says for AO1, apply an appropriate methods of language analysis using associated terminology and coherent written expression. What does this mean for top band? It means the following. You apply linguistic methods. So you apply the terminology to your data and you apply it really well. What they're looking for you to do here is to identify particular patterns. These may be interesting patterns in the use of anything from abstract nouns to disjointed constructions to stative verbs to collocations. It could be anything that you're exploring, but they want you to try and spot patterns, but also complexities. Are there any problems within those patterns that makes things not straightforward? Or, for complexities, what has cropped up that you didn't expect to crop up? Also for AO1, next bullet, select and apply appropriate methods allowing valid conclusions to be drawn. Have you set up appropriate language methods? Are you investigating things properly here so your conclusions are legitimate? This is where you're going to have to use your statistical analysis, your quantitative analysis very well, your graphs and your tables. Third bullet point. Describe language features in depth, establishing patterns of use and engaging with complexity. Ironic there, in engaging with complexity, the exam board have actually spelt their own word engaging wrong. Hey ho. Right then, language features in depth. Now, my class who I had this year will already know that my hobby horse is verbs. And if we think about what we could do with verbs, if we're analysing verbs, I could go from analysing state of verbs and dynamic verbs to moving into modal verbs, modal auxiliary verbs, which would lead me into epistemic and deontic modality. Through doing this, it would enable me then to analyse particular verb phrases. I could also analyse the use of the passive and the active voice through the use of these verb phrases. And that could also then lead me into discussing things such as the progressive and the perfective aspect. What I've done there, I've started with something simple like verbs, and I have described language features in depth. I've gone into depth here. So if you choose a simple topic like pronouns, you don't want to stick with just personal pronouns. You're going to need to use all 7 types of pronouns, aren't you? Your personal, possessive, reflexive, interrogative, demonstrative, and the 2 I've forgotten off the top of my head. Fourth bullet point, guide the reader. Hold our hands and guide us through it so it makes absolute complete sense. Guide the reader structurally and linguistically, writing really clearly. Okay, That's AO1. AO2. The first part of AO2 is really about the use of theory. Demonstrate a synthesized and conceptualized and individual overview of issues, show a conceptualized overview of the theories which illuminate the discussion. Pick your theories really well because they actually help you to say interesting things about your data. If you're choosing an unusual topic which we haven't analysed in Year 12, this will mean independent research. Students do this every year and they do it very, very well. Third bullet, use your data and your findings to challenge viewpoints and make evaluative comments. So whatever data you've discovered, can it subvert any expectations or does it just reinforce them? Don't worry if your investigation proves what you expect it to prove. That's not a problem. But do look for ways where it slightly disproves too. The bottom two in the purple I want to talk to you a little bit about. Evaluative methodology and explore alternative additional approaches. When we come to methodology in a couple of lessons' time, it may be worth you returning to this and being aware that your methodology is actually marked for AO2. Last one, provide a detailed bibliography. You will need to keep a record of all of the books you read, all of the websites you visit that give you information either about your subject or about theory surrounding your subject. That's something that is mandatory. And it has to be handed in at the back of your folder. Right, 15 marks for AO1 in the red, 15 marks for AO2 there in the blue and the purple, 20 marks for context. Okay, the top one's on context. Evaluate use of language and representations according to context. Explore analysis within wider and social context. It's what you'd expect, isn't it, your background? There's a couple of things I want to point out to you, though, in context. The three bottom ones there in the green box. Evaluate meanings and representations. So whatever your topic is, you could be talking about particular representations of groups. The same skills you would use in a meanings and reps answer can be used here. The fifth one, explore data in light of relevant wider social and cultural contexts. I often have this motto with my English language students where I say, be clever about language, be clever about the world. Understand the world in which your data exists. And the last one, present data and findings to support reflective and cautious conclusions. You must avoid bias, and you must avoid leaping in when the evidence doesn't really support it. Okay, I'll go down there, all top band, and I think everything there is achievable. Realistically, if I'm talking from experience, many of you are going to drop into here. And it's not bad. If you're getting here, you're in here, you're still getting really good marks. You're getting 10 to 12 out of 15, 10 to 12 out of 15, 13 to 16 out of 20. It's still really good. What are the differences? Well, whereas in the previous band, it was saying things like describe them in depth, it still has in depth. It doesn't have guide the reader, it now has develop a line of argument here. It's just doing the same things, but maybe doing them a little less effectively. As we go down further, we'll usually get a few students into here, but not many. They apply methods, but don't do it particularly well. They don't show detailed understanding of theory, but they have some understanding of theory. They show some detailed understanding of theory, but they're not particularly good at it. And you're able to make some simple links to context. Some of you may get in here. Now, if you're getting into here, you're still probably going to be looking at a decent pass grade. We're kind of looking at the CD sort of range in here. It's not a disaster. And these are the bottom ones, and I have to say I've only ever given marks down here when students haven't worked hard. But we wouldn't hesitate to give marks in here if students haven't worked hard. If you don't work hard, then you're not going to be improving, and you're going to end up with grades down here. Okay, please email me with any questions from that. I realise it wasn't the most exciting of subject matters, but I wanted to talk to you about the mark scheme, so you're fully aware, and refer to this video whenever you need to. We will also send you a copy of the mark scheme. Okay, that's it from me. See you later.